Hello friends, Ben here for Giant Loop, and today I want to talk to you about how all of my Giant Loop bags performed on my recent Washington BDR trip. So I just returned from a 6-day, 5-night trip from the border of Canada to the border of Oregon on the Washington BDR, that is the Backcountry Discovery Route, which allows you to go from Canada to Oregon riding on as little pavement as possible. The idea is that it takes you through some of the gorgeous backcountry, up into the mountains. The scenery is amazing, the riding is at times very difficult, and it is totally fun, great, worthwhile opportunity to get out and really test these bags and use them for what they're intended for, which is, multi-day adventure travel. So I took my Husqvarna Norden 901, and on the Norden 901 these are the Giant Loop Round the World Panniers. I haven't unpacked yet, this is the condition they arrived home in. This is my Giant Loop Tillamook bag, and then I'm running behind me, as you can see, the Giant Loop Diablo tank bag. And I just wanted to talk about how these bags worked out on this trip and how they held up to the rigors of this trip, and just to give you some insight if you're thinking about planning a trip of your own and what kind of bags you might want to use or how well the bags that we offer do on trips like that. Admittedly, this is the official Giant Loop channel, but I'm going to be as honest as I can about what the bags did and how they worked for me, and hopefully, take it with a grain of salt, I guess, because it's the official channel, but I'm mostly just going to tell you how things went, and you can draw your own conclusions. So first up, let me talk about my Round the World Panniers. The majority of my gear is in my Round the World Panniers. These are 50-ish liters a side with a dry bag on the back and a drawstring bag on the front. I have all my tools, my chair, my table, and a few odds and ends in one side, and then all my other odds and ends that isn't tent or sleeping bag in this side. That's cooking gear, it is clothes, food, my jet boil, all of that stuff is in the one side. So I ran that system the whole time we were out there, kept it pretty consistent what stayed in each bag, and that was actually very convenient. The biggest takeaways from this trip on these bags are, one, they're massive. That's why I wanted to run them. You can get a lot of gear in these bags. I can get my whole overnight setup in one of them, but I chose to put it up on top in the Tillamook bag because that stuff is bulky and lightweight, and I wanted the heavier stuff down low, like the tools, the chair, all of that. And my other big takeaway is these things are incredibly sturdy. And I know because we were riding up the jungle, so if you know the WABDR at all, the jungle is this super overgrown section. It's a tight series of switchbacks on a cliffside, basically. You gain a lot of elevation quickly, or you actually come down quickly if you're riding south to north like you're supposed to. We rode it north to south. But it's so overgrown and so tight in there that 2 times on the ascent up that hill at 20 miles an hour or more, and I tagged this bag on something hard on the side of the trail. One time it was a log about that big around. I tagged the side of this on because it was either hit it or get off my line, and I was staying on my line. And I did the same thing again partway up on a rock face. So I tagged this bag going pretty quickly on the side of the road on a rock face and a log, and not to mention just a ton of manzanita and other brush that I put it through. So I dragged this through countless instances of thick brush. That manzanita stuff is not like other underbrush. It doesn't really bend, it's pretty sturdy. And there are a few scratches and scuffs here on the bag from where I hit the tree and the rock face, but I never had a single doubt about anything happening to this bag. It stood up to the punishment. That's what it's for. It's designed to deal with all kinds of punishment, and I will say it passed with flying colors. But nothing was broken, everything was great. I didn't break any buckles, the straps aren't even frayed, and I've got these secured up underneath the pannier racks for extra stability, and they didn't move around at all, and I have them, I would say, probably overloaded. The nice thing about having a big pannier is you can get a lot of the weight down low on the bike instead of having it up on top where it becomes more top heavy, and that's incredibly useful in those very difficult sections. There's a lot of very steep, loose rocky sections on Kleeman Mountain. We actually skipped Babyhead Hill, but we did Kleeman Mountain. We did the washout on section 3, and then a ton of ruts just up on Bethel Ridge, and I didn't have any issues. The bike felt stable and easy enough to ride, and until I stopped and it tipped one way or the other, I didn't really notice the extra weight. So I really like the way is distributed with these big panniers. So I highly recommend the Round the World Panniers. I've been using them for motocamping trips for several years now. This was my first week-long motocamping trip, and it was great to know that I had space to bring everything I needed and then some, because I have the massive, sturdy Round the World Panniers on either side of this motorcycle. Let's talk about the Tillamook bag. So on the back here, I'm running, this is my Sea to Summit pack tap. It's empty because I was using up the water as we went. But underneath that is my Giant Loop Tillamook Dry Bag. This is a double-ended dry bag. It's 48 liters. It attaches to your bike with these straps here on the four corners, but it comes off separately. So what's in this bag is tent, sleeping bag, sleeping pad, the ground cover, the footprint for my tent, my extra blanket, my pump for my air mattress, a pair of shoes, and a pair of pants that I was putting on when I was swapping my clothes because I don't like to hang around and camp in my riding gear. It's too hot. But all that is on top. So for instance, when we got to Lake Chelan State Park, I just unclipped the four buckles at the corners of this, picked this bag up, threw it over where I was setting my tent up, and I dumped it out and had all my stuff there. And conversely, in the morning, I packed everything up, stuffed it back in this bag, walked over to the bike, clipped it on, and left. So having everything separate in a dry bag on top like this is super handy for that. And it's also just nice because all that stuff is pretty lightweight, so it consolidates all my bulky, lightweight stuff up high so that I have room for the heavier stuff down low, makes the bike handle a little better. This thing is fully waterproof, it's incredibly rugged. As you can see, it got quite dirty. It comes with these extra, it's got D-rings and this webbing so that you can attach things to the top. Case in point, this Sea to Summit pack tap, aka the Pacific Northwest Green Manta Ray. No issues with this bag moving around. It remains my favorite piece of soft luggage because it's so versatile. It works on any bike. I use it in my truck. I use it anytime I go camping, and it performs amazingly on this trip. And it is waterproof. I didn't need it to be, but if it had rained or something like that, we'd have been totally covered. So very happy with the Giant Loop Tillamook Dry Bag. And what's nice about this is it's so easy to get in and out of because there's openings on both ends. So, you know, when I packed up and was like, oh crap, I forgot to put my slippers in there, I just unclip, 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 slap my slippers in, close it up, and go. So if you need quick access to things, or you stop for food and you're like, where am I going to put this? It works. You can put it in this bag. I love that about it. And the other thing I love about this bag is how versatile it is. So a couple nights we were camped at a campground close enough to town that I could run into town after I set everything up. So I dumped out the bag, set up my tent, sleeping, everything like that, and then strapped the bag back on the bike, rode into town, and put a 7-pound bag of ice, or in one case a 10-pound, and a half rack of beer in here, came back, had cold beer for the rest of the night, dumped out the rest of the ice before I went to bed, and it was dry by morning. I could shove all my stuff back in. So that is a versatile piece of equipment, and it's nice to have the option to go grab something cold and know that it's, because the waterproofing works both ways. It'll hold water in as well as it holds water out. So that thing was a lifesaver. We enjoyed using it a ton. So highly recommend the old Tillamook bag if you're going on a trip like the BDR. And finally, my Diablo tank bag. I like the Diablo because it's a little bit lower, so when you're on the rougher terrain, like on the BDR, I was able to get up over the top of it, lean forward easier. One of the coolest things about this is this waterproof map pocket on top, so I just put my Discover Pass in the top here, and then we also had parking passes at a couple of the campgrounds we stayed at, and I just slip it in there. It doesn't blow away, but it's easy for the ranger or whomever to see it, so that worked out well. It's got additional pouches inside, so I kept my extra contacts, and I have some stickers stuck down in here. I had all my filming gear in here. I had this FRS radio, extra allergy pills I picked up at a gas station along the way because we ran out. And then in here, just this incidentals pouch is where I keep my earplugs because I'm taking them in and out all the time as I'm riding, getting on and off the highway, whatever. Stuff my sunglasses in there one day. But this is an incredibly rugged tank bag. It's totally out of the way. I rode the whole BDR, even the roughest parts, except for Baby Head Hill, with it on there. Never felt like it was in my way or I wanted it gone, and you know, I used this Diablo on everything. So that is 6 liters of readily accessible storage. You don't have to even get off the bike to use it. It's why I usually keep my extra camera in there, so I can grab it, film without getting off the bike, put it back in, and plenty of room for incidentals, things that you grab along the way, snacks, whatever it may be. So pretty happy with the performance of that too. And as you can see, all this stuff, aside from being dirty, it's all very dirty. But it looks like brand new, like the day I got it. It's just super rugged. There's not a loose thread or anything. You know, the zipper got a little sticky, so I waxed it up because it's super dusty. But all this stuff is as sturdy as the day I bought it, with the exception of the scuffs that I barely put in the side of the Round the World, and I had to work hard for those. Let me show them to you. So you can see it's scuffed, right? There's a scuff there, there's a scuff there, there's a scuff there, a couple here. But that literally took me bouncing it off of a rock face in a log. Hit 20 plus miles an hour, so could not be more impressed with how sturdy these bags are. Would not hesitate to take them out on another trip, literally tomorrow. So if you haven't seen it, I made a video about packing for this trip and everything that I got in these bags, so you can check that out on the channel. I'll link it for you. But like I said, I just wanted to give you a sort of a debrief, a rundown on how all the bags performed on the BDR trip. So if you're thinking about taking some Giant Loop bags on the BDR trip, just rest assured that they're going to perform incredibly well. These bags constantly outperform me as a rider and a camper, and I'm sure they'll last me for years to come. But if for some reason they didn't last, we have our limited lifetime warranty. So if you have an issue, all you have to do is let us know, and we will take care of you. So keep in mind, all of our bags are backed by our limited lifetime warranty, and all orders of over $75 from giantloopmoto.com ship for free. Please consider subscribing to the channel for more gear overviews, how-tos, and other great content. And don't forget that YouTube subscribers save 10% with promo code SUBSCRIBER. Thank you for watching. Go light, go fast, go far with Giant Loop.